Hari Om. The second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga, the divine discourse of Bhagavan Krishna, starts from the 11th verse. In our last session, we have seen this verse. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajna Vadamsha Bhashase Gadasun Agadasuncha Na Anushochandi Panditaha. Sri Bhagavan starts the divine discourse from here. The very first word of this verse 11, Ashocya, meaning about those where we should not grieve in life. If we grieve about those where we are not supposed to grieve, then it is the symptom of shokam, sorrow in you. And this shokam is merely due to ignorance. This shokam is merely due to ajnana. This shokam or the sorrow is due to the delusion. And that is why we suffer in life. The very first word is Ashocya, about those where we should not grieve. And if we are grieving upon those, then it is a clear indication that it is due to the mere ajnana or ignorance. That is where the shogam is getting created. The suffering, the sorrowfulness is getting created. So that what is that we have to do? The root cause of suffering has to be fixed. And if you see in our life, we don't want to get any sort of sufferings in life. Always sukha. Dukkha nivritti, this is what we all need in life. Not only that, dukkham, getting rid of dukkham, but at the same time we need to be happy. Always happy. And what we are trying to do for becoming or being happy in our life, we identify with the things, the objects in life. And depending upon those objects to derive happiness in our life. And at the same time, from those objects we should not get any sort of sorrows. This is what we all do in life. So the root cause of suffering is basically what? The identifications that we create with body, mind, intellect, sense, ego complex. Or this identification with the body, mind, intellect, sense, ego, worldly objects leads one to desires, attachments, in Sanskrit, trishna. Also aversion. We want to get rid of the painful things. I want to be, always happy. So I want to avoid aversion in life. Aversion towards certain things. Isn't it? And taking the ownership out of the possessions or the objects that we own or deal with, the enjoyership. And also the pride that we create in our life in terms of taking ownership while we execute the things, or when we possess things, attach a label of the ego onto those things, so called as the doership. So thus creating lot amount of karmic bondages in our life. So the suffering, the samsara arises. Why? Because we mistake the impermanent things and we depend upon the impermanent things to make us happy. We depend upon the impermanent for the permanent happiness or the permanent solutions that we are thinking for. We depend upon the painful things for the pleasurable things. Instead of, or identifying the painful things to make pleasures out of them. Or in one way, from Vedantic point of view, identifying with the non-self instead of the real self. So there is a way to fix this problem. The way is basically, this capacity is already given to all human beings. The human birth, if you see from an evolutionary standpoint, human birth is very, very, very superior. Because we have the power of free will in us. When we say free will, the fair capacity to, initiate a journey in us. The fair capacity to initiate a process in us. That process will lead to our own evolution. That is where human beings are really multifaceted. And whereas you look at the animals, they are impulsive, they are instinctive. So that is where human beings, we do have the fair capacity to make the life that we want out of this fair capacity which is given to us. That is only applicable for the human beings. So when we say the fair capacity, where this capacity is residing, the capacity is within us. The capacity to utilize the inner potential. This is the great gift that is given to the human beings. So this potential is given to us. The possibilities are given to us. So what one has to do is basically understand this and evolve. And before understanding, one has to know this strength. How? Through the awareness. Born out of the innate awareness. Again, the awareness is not something new that we have to create. Recognize. Nothing has to be brought from outside. This is just to, recognize. So, the strength which is there within us, we need to recognize. And that strength only can make us to the state of fulfillment. The one state that we all are looking is basically perfection. Right? Atyantika dukkha nivritti, paramananda prapti. That is where, if you put an English term here, the kind of a perfection or the fulfillment or the wholesomeness that we all are looking. And where is this perfection? This perfection cannot be met with the external things. When I say external things, including our own body, mind, intellect, senses. Not only this, again, the objects that we transact in our life. This potential is where it is within all of us. In Srimad Bhagavad, in the Egadasha Skandam, in the Navama Adhyayam, the 9th Adhyayam, the Avaduda Ubakhyana Samapti, that is where we can see these verses. Srishtva Purani Vividhanyajayatma Shaktya Vrikshan Sarisrupa Pashun Khakadam Shamalsya Taistairatushta Hridaya Purusham Vidhaya Brahmavalokadishanam mudamavadeva Labdva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavande Manusyamarthadam anityamapihadira Turnam yededa napadeda numrutyuyava Nishreyasaya vishayak kalu sarvadasyad. So here the terms Brahmavaloga Dishanam Mudamapadeva and Turnam Yadeda. So if you see the whole creations, various life forms, right? Plants, animals, birds. So the creation houses life in different forms. And out of these creations, only the human form was endowed with the capability to realize that secret of life, the secret of the happiness, the truth which is behind the perfection. Or in another way, the Brahmavalogadeshana or the Sakshatkaram, the Lord, realizing the God. So the perfection or the possibility of seeing the perfection is endowed only with the human beings. So the attaining the supreme, attaining the perfection, attaining the truth of life. So wise people will look into this because this is the fair capacity which is given and only few will use this. Because majority are busy with spending time in the material pleasures which is outside, because they are available, they are tangible and you feel that they are the real things. Here Vedanta is not saying don't look into that at all. No, don't get stuck there. The real freedom is not in those transactions. The real freedom is not, or the real freedom cannot be obtained from the pleasures that we get out of those material objects. Don't get stuck there. The real freedom is not those. So use it wisely for the sake of transactions, not for just mere sensual pleasures and enjoyment and try to see the perfection out of those. Just use for the sake of using. Don't get stuck. Nishreyasaya vishaya kalu sarvadasyad. The Paramashreyas, the Nishreyas. In Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, Bhagavan again says in the verse 3, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yadadi siddhaye yadadamapi siddhanam kaschinma veti tattvadaha. So among thousands of people, sahasreshu, only rare will make efforts to know this reality. Try to gain the kind of perfection. Try to gain the inner freedom. See, animals are instinct. That's what we also, correct. They are instinctive, they are impulsive. And also animals, they relieve stress. They do have different mechanisms to relieve stress, to do hunting, to eat, etc. So animals, how they relieve stress? Maybe using their instincts. For example, running away. Running. So animals relieve stress by running away or chasing, etc. But whereas human beings, what we do, we create stress by the mad running. Because we are chasing it. So we are creating stress by ourselves. There is a difference. And also animals, if you see, they eat, they sleep, they also procreate. So now the question will come, what we are doing differently? When we say human beings are at the top of the evolution and they do have the fair capacity to really see the principle behind the life. So that is where human beings, we can still ourselves, right? We can slow down things, we can reflect upon things, we can declare that, I am not going to go with those things. I really need to find peace using a different way rather than chasing things, right? Sometimes we also feel that, what am I doing? Why am I chasing? So that is where the unique edge is given to man, human beings. When we say unique edge, we can pause, we can think, we can reflect, we can find the inner source of happiness. We can rather than reacting, we can respond with wisdom, we can forgive. Whereas animals, will they be able to do that? Where is the forgiving coming there? So human beings can reflect on life's meaning. See, after a life of chasing things continuously, chasing materials, man realizes that, what am I doing? Am I neglecting certain dimensions in my life? Or even the health also. We all should really give the meanings, or we need to give enough importance to health, well-being, mental happiness, learning in life. What is my true purpose in life? Am I neglecting the wisdom which is available? The Rishi Parampara, the Guru Parampara, the kind of wealth they have coded or codified. People buy Bhagavad Gita or other scriptures and keep it inside the shelf. It will be always there inside the shelf. Probably the plan is like, after retirement I will start. So that is where the fair capacity to reflect, learn, and the capacity is within us. It is the inner growth, and inner growth only makes human beings successful. So every moment when we do transactions in the world also, every moment of our life which is spent in the awareness of our true self, just link with that awareness of what? Our own true nature, our own true capabilities, with all the virtues that we need, all the samvat, the inner values. So every moment of our life which is spent in the awareness of our true self, the true capabilities, with all the virtues, will only capitalize the meaning of a true human being. This is what Srimad Bhagavad says. This is what Bhagavan Krishna mentioned. And when we have to start, don't wait. Waiting until later is a trap. Start now. Ihaiva. Before the window closes. You can see this kind of ads. Limited opportunity. Before the window closes. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlada Kumaran says that in the 7th skandha, Kaumara acharet prajna dharman bhagavadaniha durlabham manisham janmam tadapyadruvam arthadam. So start from the Kaumara. The Bhagavad Dharma, when we say Bhagavad Dharma, the real karma yoga, the real yoga should start from the Kaumaram as early as possible. It doesn't mean that there is a fixed time like Kaumaram you have to start. As early as possible. As a Kumara, Prahlada Kumaran says this has to be started at the early ages. See, once a man went into the forest, a very dense forest, and a mad elephant, a jungle elephant, he was being chased by a mad elephant. And he has to do the self-protection. So, running for his life, what happened? This man fell into a deep hole. But somehow in the midway, this man could manage to get onto the roots of an arayal vriksha, a people tree. Managed to grab onto the roots of the vriksha, the tree, which was hanging inside into this hole. And this rope, these roots, barely stopped his fall somehow. That came as a protection. But he just looked down and saw a huge snake with the mouth opened. And this is a hole, right? And again, from the different sides, from the sides of the hole, 4 poisonous snakes, right, coming towards him, trying to snatch this man. And to his surprise, 2 rats, one a white rat and a black rat, started cutting the root of the tree, started grinding or cutting or gnawing that tree root where he was clinging on. And at the same time, this is a dense forest, from the tree which is over the hole, he saw some honey getting dripped from a beehive, from one of the branches above. So this man momentarily, forgetting everything, and extends his tongue to taste that honey. So this may look like a cooked up story, but if you see the analogy behind, mad elephant is something like the axis of time. Time is always chasing us. Time is chasing whom? Time is chasing the body. Time is chasing the objects which are created or manifested. And the deep well is what? Deep well is the samsara. It is the material world. The snake at the bottom, we all know that whatever is created, whatever is born will die. This is the death. You must be thinking, this Sunday evening, we are scaring, Snake at the bottom is Yama Raja, the death. The 4 snakes, if you can say, the limitations of our body. When I say limitations, the decay of the body, because body is also changing, and this is just like a machine. At some point of time, some parts will go wrong, and sometimes it becomes irreparable. And these 2 rats, when you say the different colors, the white and black, it's the day and night, eating our life, eating away our life. right? And honey is the temporary pleasures that we get, the sensual joys that we get, and we go after those. And the man tasting the honey is basically what? The deluded human being, ignoring the danger or death. Doesn't mean that you have to completely worry about that. No. In that limited time, with this manifested body and the capabilities that we have, realize why are we here? What is the real meaning of life? What is permanent in this life? What is not permanent in this life? So the man tasting honey, we can say, the one who is not having the nitya anitya vastu vivek, distracted and distracted out of these pleasures actually, right? Again, that is where distraction comes in the middle of this problem, and due to that fleeting pleasures, the distraction, the urge to enjoy the pleasure, that is where again the distraction came in the averse situation also, in the bad situation also. So in the 11th verse of 2nd chapter, Bhagavan uses the word, started with Ashochan, and the verse ends as Na Anushojanti Pandita. Who is a Pandita? We will try to get the definition of this. I will try to quote a verse from the 5th chapter. 5th chapter, 18th verse. Yes. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gevi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shobhageja Pandita Samadarsi. Who is a Panditan? The Panditan is the one who is having Vidya Vinaya Sampat. And Panditan is also a Samadarshi. Pandita Samadarshi. We'll see this verse when we go further. But who is a Pandita? The Panditan is a Samadarshi, the one which is having the equal vision, the one who sees the divine dimension in everything, in every being, one who sees the self in all beings, regardless of the outer appearances. Or in this verse we can see Shuni Cha Eva Shopage Devi Hastini. So regardless of the names, forms, outer appearances, or the social status, a Pandita sees the Samadarshitva, sees the divine dimension, the self in all beings. And Pandita is equipped with Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, knowledge, Vidya and Vinaya, the humility, the inner wisdom combined with the humility. Somebody was arguing, right? Modern Gen, the new Gen is not humble. Other person, the new Gen person was saying, no, we are more humble. So this argument went inside a metro train, Bangalore metro train. So this new Gen person said, see, everybody is humble. You look at them. Everybody is looking down at the phone without showing any head weight like this. Looking down, looking at the phone, looking at the mobile. And they are not troubling others. You have to understand that. Busy with what? Busy with scrolling and trolling. So when you say, don't think that I'm trying to put a joke, or even say that the modern Gen is not like that. I'm not trying to say that. Everybody, if you see, irrespective of the age, Somebody went to a doctor and said, night I am not getting sleep, and daytime I am too tired. Night I am not getting sleep, and daytime I am too tired. Doctor, what should I do? Doctor advised, whatever money you get, you just sell your smartphone. Because we all are, completely controlled by these gadgets. Everybody is distracted. So when I say humility, knowledge, vidya, vinayam. So one should also know, because this is also another dimension that is very much needed. Not getting distracted. And Pandita is also having the quality of detachment and steadiness. Unmoved by the pleasure, pain, unmoved by the success and failure. Steadfastness. And Pandita is also a person of compassion. Treats everything with respect, with love, with gratitude towards the things, gratitude towards everything, the compassion. And above all, Panditan is the one who is ātmā, realize the self. The ātmā is the real quality of a Panditan. What is the ātmā? Understand the eternal nature, that is the true self. And where is that? That is within. And that is the reason of everything, including all my own body, mind. That is the real power. So, Panditan is the one who is Vidya Vinaya Sambannan, Samadarshi, and Atmajnani. So here, Bhagavan uses this word Pandita. We should understand that the Gita or spirituality is not a philosophy. This is the wisdom, this is the knowledge for an integrated growth and refinement of human beings, irrespective of the religion and all those things. Because Gita as a medicine or a text for the integrated growth and refinement. One has to be driven by the potential that is really given. And that potential is called as the intelligence, the profound dimension of intelligence which is given only to human beings. Rather than just using the instincts and emotions like animals do. Live a life that is meaningful. For that you must know what is my true nature, what is my inner nature. Now that inner nature is shadowed by the material world of ego, emotions, desires, etc. So now the happiness, the definition of happiness for the Laukigan is all depend upon the external things to make me happy. So that I will always chase and chase and chase and chase. This becomes an endless race, rat race. So happiness is not equal to chasing external things or depend upon external things to be happy. Otherwise also we should be happy. See, you all know this. In economics, the law of diminishing marginal utility. In human behavior also this is very applicable. The law of diminishing marginal utility. What is it? It is when we start consuming more units of a service or a good, the additional satisfaction, when I say the additional satisfaction, the utility gained from each additional units will decrease. Let's see practically. Let's see, I'm too hungry and I get a slice of pizza. Very much satisfied, very high satisfaction, right? I'm too hungry and I am getting something to eat. I have vegetarian pizza. The utility is very high here, right? The satisfaction is also very high. Now the second slice is also served. Right, good, enjoyable, because it is filling. After that, the third slice is also served. The enjoyment will slightly drop because you are almost full. Now the fourth slice is served. Maybe this is last. Regret eating more. I don't want to eat anything. No, this is initially when we started the first slice. Very high satisfaction, very high utility. With the fourth slice, regret eating more calories, and then the thoughts of this is a junk food and all those things will come. And the fifth slice is also served now. What will you do? The thing which gave the high utility, now it becomes a curse. You will throw it out. Similarly, the more you have of something, the less extra happens. It will come down, it will depreciate. So that is where our Parama Purushartha, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha. Artham, Kama. Artham is all engagement, achievement, and Kama is all about pleasure. Vedantam says, use Dharma as a channel to acquire Artha and Kama, as a basis to choose the pleasure and engagement. But up till this level is all about fulfillment of desire. Now the real step of, or the real goal of life, the moksha, the freedom, the fulfillment. So from the fulfillment of desire that we try to do through Artha, Kama, Dharmam, now you change from fulfillment of desire to the discovery of fulfillment. So far mind was chasing the desires to get fulfilled, and now make the mind capable to discover the fulfillment within us, within you. The mind, making the mind evolve to realize the higher reality of fulfillment. That is where the evolution, we call it as evolution, is from Naran to Narayanan, from a man to a divine being. So here Arjuna, as a Yodha, is uplifted by Bhagavan Krishna and making him from the dimension of Naran to Narayanan. Slowly. That is where the wisdom starts flowing from now, from Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna. In the Vishnu Puranam, there is a verse, Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Dharmasya, Yashasasriya, Vairagyasya, Mokshasya, Shannam, Bhaga Idiridha. So Aisharyam, Dharmam, Yashas, Sri, Vairagyam, and Moksha. So who is a Bhagavan? Bhagavan is the one who has these qualities. Moksham, Vairagyam, Sri, Dharmam, Yashas, Aishwarya. So here, Shadguna Sambannan Bhagavan Krishnan as the Vijnana Saradi of Arjuna, as the Avijnata Sakha, who is elevating Arjuna to go from Naran to Narayana. This is where the wisdom starts. So now the real satsanga, as Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan starts giving the wisdom. In the Kadhopanishad, Sravanayavi Bahuviryona Labhya Srunvantopi Bahavo Yam Navidhi. The real satsangam happens from now. Bhagavan Krishna as the Vijnana Saradi, as the Shadguna Sambanna, giving this knowledge to Arjuna. So the higher dimension of I, now we can see you are not the mere body, mind, intellect, senses, etc. Right? You are crying about the death. You are Arjuna, you need to understand the higher dimension of I. When you were grieving, I thought you are talking like a Pandita, where the Pandita never grieve in life. Pandita knows the higher dimension of the I, the true I. Panditan is the person who has no suffering. There is end of suffering in the Panditan. Because the real I minus the superficial I is zero there. Meaning what? There is no superficial I in the way of life of a Pandita, as in the way of life of a Jnani. So now the problem is the real I minus the superficial I. There is a huge gap. One has to reduce the distance. So when we reduce that distance, our dimensions of life, whether it is psychological, social, temporal or experiential, everything will become perfect. And the capability is there, and that is where Bhagavad Gita as a Shastra takes us to the Tattvamasi Tattva. So first 6 chapters primarily talks about the Tvam-pada. What is that true self? You are beyond the body, mind, intellect, sense, etc. That is the Tvam-pada. First 6 chapters stress upon the Tvam-pada. And the next 6 chapters, 7 to 12, talks about the Tat-pada. The real I. I mean, when you say real I, the universal I, right? Tvam, about your own self, and the higher self, the universal self. Third part of Bhagavad Gita is the Asipada, 13 to 18 chapter. Asi is basically the oneness, the essential oneness. Tvam and Tad are essentially same. So that is where Bhagavan Krishna equips Arjuna with this knowledge, and Bhagavan Krishna is equipping all of us to have a meaningful life, to become Panditan in life, the one who has knowledge of the self, where the superficial I and the real I, there is no distance. So the Panditan is the one who knows what is bondage, what is freedom. See, in life, when we experience sorrows, how we experience sorrow, or why we experience sorrows? Because we try to have a reaction to an unpleasant incident. That is where the sorrows appear in us, right? In dreams, sometimes we may see some bad dreams, but the moment you come out of the dream, you realize that that was a dream. But if it is a true thing, right, the reaction to an unpleasant incident will cling in us, and that evolves as sorrow in us. Where is the sorrow? The sorrow is in the mind. And when we experience happiness, what is happiness? The happiness is all about reaction to the pleasant incident. Any pleasant incident, when we have a favorable action, though I use reaction, a favorable action in response to a pleasant incident is happiness. But am I the one who is changing between the sorrow and happiness? Am I the one who is changing between these two? Because I am able to witness the state of sadness or happiness, but if that is the case, who am I? I am the one who is observing this both. In that case, if I am the observer of these dualities, then it is inherent that I, the real I, is the embodiment of all virtues. That is why Pandita is an ātmā. Panditan will never suffer, will never grieve in life. Na anushojandi Pandita. Verse number 13 of second chapter. Let's start with the 13th verse today. Verse 12. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa nachaiva nabhavishyama sarve vayamada param. Natvevaham na tu eva aham jatu nasam jatu na asam na tvam na me janadipa na chaiva na cha eva na bhavishyama sarve vayam adaparam. So you, me and these janadipa, these kings, there was never a time that I did not exist, neither you nor these kings. And there will not be a case like, you and I and all those kings will cease to exist in future. There is no question of existence disappearing. We should understand that in this context, because you should not mix it up. These statements are not to provoke killing or something, right? In this context, we need to understand that Arjuna as a Yodha should understand his dharma, his duty, his moral duty. So, what you are supposed to do should get executed. What was to be done could be done or executed here. As a Yodha, Arjuna, you are supposed to do the Swadharmam. You are supposed to do your duty. Here Arjuna asked a question. See, tell me for sure what is needed for my own Paramashreyas. In the previous verse we can see that. That is where Bhagavan brings this topic of ātmā, ātmā-jnānam. It starts with the ātmā-jnānam here. Ātmā, the consciousness, the existence. The bodies will cease because the body came and it has to go. The destruction of body is inevitable. But you will continue to exist. There is no question of you dying. Your body will die. If you see my body, it is not I body. It is my body. So I is different from the body. And that body, that I, the real self is eternal. It will exist because the existence has to continue. It will never cease to exist. So here Bhagavan Krishna says, you kings and I myself have always existed and will continue to exist beyond these bodies. The birth and death are mainly the events tagged to the body. But the life to the body is given by the self, and that self will continue to exist. Death is not the end of everything, because your personal identity is eternal. The personal identity is eternal. The true self is eternal. Because when you remove, say, I am, when you remove the I, that am is still there. The amness is there. That isness is there. That is existence. And that amness is always there. Let's see in the deep sleep what is happening actually. Daily we undergo this pattern of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. That amness is there. In the deep sleep, everything plunges into the reality. Body, mind, intellect, sense, everything. There is no identification there. The existence is always there. The true self is eternal. Forget about the dream. In the body also, in this Janma also, when you have a manifested body, the life will exist. That self will continue to exist. That self is eternal. So there is no cause for grief. Verse number 13. Dehi nosmin yadha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tada dehandara prapti dhira tatra na muhyati. Dehinosmin yada dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tada dehandara prapti dhira tatra na muhyati. So, life is a journey of changes. And life undergoes, the kaumaram, yauvanam, jara, etc. Life is a journey of changes. We all know this. Life, obviously, the body undergoes this shadvigara, the 6 modifications. Right? Before the body came into picture, there was a potential form, correct? Asti, jayade, vardhade, viparinamade, apakshiyade. Asti, jayade, vardhade, viparinamade, apakshiyade, vinashyate. Some form, potential form. Asti, jayade, birth happens, manifestation happens, a form happens, takes birth. Vardhade, growth happens, grows in size and shape and strength and so on and so forth. Viparinamade, transformation happens, stages in life. Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara, puberty to aging. Apakshiyade, decline happens, decay happens, weakness happens in the body. Vinashyate, destruction. Finally, the body came and body goes back. So the dhiran, right, the one who understands that, these manifested things will cease to exist. The one who has got discrimination is a dhiran. Thi meaning what? Thi is buddhi. The one who uses that thi, the buddhi, is a dhira. What is the understanding required here? Changes in the body are just appearances in the self. Changes in the body are the appearances in the self. Correct. Because we can see the changes in the body happening. What happened 20 years back, 10 years back, last year. Who is changing? Who is seeing these changes in the body? Similarly, who is observing the changes in the mind? Who is observing the changes in our capabilities? What I learned, what was the kind of capability in terms of knowledge, in terms of learning, etc. Who is witnessing? There is something which is witnessing these changes. So the changes in this body, mind, intellect, senses are the appearances in the self. So similarly, the death of the body is just a phenomenon. Death is not an incident that will happen in the self. Death is at the plane of those objects, including body, mind, intellect, sense. The self is the existence itself. You are that. Death is what? Death is all about jiva traverses from one body to another body. There is no end. Nothing will end. Body came from Prakriti and it has to go back. Body has what? All those Panchabhutas, the 5 elements. Agasham, Jalam, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi. And the 5 elements are there. It has to go back into the 5 elements. Body came from the Prakriti, it will go back to the Prakriti. So the sorrows are due to what? The sorrows are due to the thoughts. Sorrows are due to the mind. Sorrows are due to the individual sense that we have created. This is the game of ego. So what is the way? Remove the individual sense. The self doesn't change, and you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the senses. So who is the Dhiran, who is a Panditan, who understands this truth and is not affected and not confused, not at all affected by these kind of disturbances. The self is existence itself. So Arjuna, please understand that there is not even a time that those kings, you, me, never existed or will stop to exist. But we need to understand that Dehina asmin yada deha kaumaram yauvanam jara tada deha andara praptihi dhira tatra namuhyati. Right, just as the body undergoes these different stages like childhood, kaumaram, yauvanam, jara, the indweller of this body, dehina asmin, just as yada dehe, tada deha andara prapti. So this life will continue to exist by or going into another body. Dhira tatra na muhyadi. A wise person therefore doesn't grieve in life. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyade Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावत् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सर्वं नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम शांति शांति शांति.